end result. Psychologists have an expression that sanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, we are on the path of failure, this country, sorry to say. Those people who are doing very well in business, they say, no problem, we're doing okay. But I hear about the squatters in Pretoria. People who were probably middle class people, now living in shacks, and people in shacks are now middle class. It's a cycle, but a cycle is a circle, and it comes back on itself. A few other thoughts which came to mind. If we're not selected on the basis of our ability, which is what we were promised, then what are we selected on? If we're selected on race or colour, have we achieved anything at all in the last 20 years? The right to your own culture, your own language, the right to speak out against wrongs without being unfairly labelled. And I've watched many of the debates on TV, which Sunette has been subject to, shall I say, where she's immediately attacked on the basis of race because she's speaking out for her people as she sees them, and the violent attacks on them immediately, that's not on. As somebody said earlier, you can be as left as you like, and you can associate with as many lefties as you like, that's all okay. But if there's any consideration of conservatism, you're immediately labelled. Well, we have a right to expect that our children and grandchildren will grow up in a society where they will be judged on the content of their character, like the famous speech, I have a dream. Well, that's not happening. And it's been 20 years now since the majority voted in a majority government on that basis. No more discrimination. No more rights denied. Well, that's exactly what's happened. I don't have to tell you that. But there's hope. There's always hope. It appears to me many people here are Christians, and you will hopefully have read the history of the Israelites and how they were under the heel of the Philistines for 18 years. They weren't even allowed to sharpen their own sickles in case they were up to something. They had to go to a Philistine blacksmith to have their sickle sharpened. They were not allowed to bear arms. They were not allowed to hold rallies. They were not allowed to speak in public. They were subjects for 18 years under the heel of the Philistines. They prayed for deliverance. And I'm studying at the moment in Cape Town, and there's a brain mens, coloured fella, he's a master of philosophy. We get along very well. And he said to me, have you noticed that when there's oppression, people go to church? He says before the elections, 94, he noticed the coloured folk, the black folk, the brain mensen, swart mensen, what you will, they were always at church. Every Sunday, big crowds at church, singing, clapping. He says, look now, they've got their freedom. Die swart mensen, he said, they've got their freedom. And the churches are thinning out. He said he noticed for 10 years or so, tussen die brain mensen, they also stopped going to church, numbers dwindled. But he says they're starting to go back again because they've realized they're not free. They are still oppressed. They're discriminated against. The current regime, I like to call them that, current regime, likes to talk about Africans, coloureds and whites. Africans, coloureds and whites. As if to say, the coloured is not an African. That you have to be black to be an African. They seem to have forgotten about the people who built the pyramids and people who don't consider themselves black, who are very much African, have a written history of 5,000 years. They seem to forget that the first person to call himself an Afrikaner or Afrikaner was a brain man. We've got his name, we know the date. So He's an African. And if I take the literal meaning of the name, what does it mean? Afrikaner, African. So they are trying to, on one hand, squash us all together, the wonderful rainbow nation. Nobody, no minorities, you're all separate, but you're all together in the rainbow, but you'll have your culture, you'll have your traditions. That's not happening. On the other hand, they separate us again. African, coloured and white. I'm an African. My wife's family is 10th generation African. I'm 4th generation African. My ancestors were Scots and Irish. On the Irish side, they fought for the Boers. On the Boer side. On the Scottish side, they fought for the British. But here we are. We're all together in the same leaky boat, seemingly rudderless at the moment.
Yes.
So, if our children don't have a future, if they have no educational opportunities, no job opportunities because of their race, what have we achieved in the last 20 years? I say zero.
Nothing.
Yeah. Take rights from some to give to others? Doesn't sit well. So what do we want? I hear self-determination, I hear freedom, I hear eie grond, I hear eie taal, eie cultuur, I hear all those things. But bottom line, we want freedom. We want to be free to be who we are. The United Nations declared segregation, call it what you like, separate development, segregation, a crime against humanity. Well, I put it to you, you've heard that on the TV lately, I'll put it to you, that enforced integration is as much a crime against humanity as enforced segregation.
Absolutely.
It's not freedom of choice if you're forced. It's not freedom of association if you are forced. If you choose to, that's freedom.